Hey everybody, welcome to the channel and thank you so much for joining me for a visit to Yosemite National Park. Before we get started, let's take in the sunrise from tunnel view. Well, that's one way to get your day started for sure. We'll get to the park summary and then I will share with you how to best maximize your visit to Yosemite if you only have one day. The park, which is located in California about 70 miles north of Fresno and 70 miles east of Modesto, was established in 1890 by President Benjamin Harrison, and we'll talk a little bit more about the history as we go through the video. Yosemite is very busy with about 3.9 million visitors who all want to go to the valley and they all want to go to Glacier Point. There's 5 regions: Hetch Hetchy, Tuolumne Meadows, Crane Flat / White Wolf, Yosemite Valley, and Glacier Point / Wawona. In addition to the stunning Granite Valley, the park has some spectacular waterfalls, meadows, lakes, and also offers 3 groves of giant sequoia trees. There's a variety of wildlife here. You mainly just need to know that there are black bears in the park and they are well known for dumpster diving, so you need to be bear aware throughout the park and make sure you clean up your trash. As for weather, Yosemite features outstanding weather, maybe some of the best in the entire national park system. Most of the precipitation for this area occurs during the winter, so there's not very much rain during the peak season. However, it can snow here quite a bit in the winter, and therefore Tioga Pass and Glacier Point Road close for the winters and open sometime in the late spring. Cell service I found to be quite good in the valley and at Glacier Point. However, if you go on a long hike, you will probably lose some cell service. So we already know I'm going to recommend the park. This is one of the most beautiful places in the entire world, but stick around to the end of the video. I'm going to give you an amazing one-day itinerary, and I'm also going to share some top tips at the end of the video. If you have a special tip for visiting Yosemite or maybe a favorite spot, I'd really love to hear about any of those in the comments below. Now let's get started seeing the valley. Leaving tunnel view, we're going to head over to Yosemite Falls, which at 2,425 feet is the tallest waterfall in the park, and it is one of the tallest waterfalls in North America. However, I discovered it is not the tallest. Since I visited later in the year, the waterfall was kind of struggling a little bit. I did ask the rangers if they could maybe open up the tap some, and they told me it doesn't quite work that way. Here's a shot of the upper Yosemite Falls, and here is the lower Yosemite Falls. I feel bad the water flow here is a little low, so I'm going to insert some stock footage from the NPS that shows the falls when the water flow is much greater. As you can see, it's just a magnificent and spectacular waterfall. You need to know that Yosemite is an extremely crowded park. I'm going to suggest learning about the free shuttle and using that shuttle to get you to the different vantage points within the valley. When you enter the valley, you do need to get here as soon as you can in the morning. If you're visiting during the busy season, you may not be able to get parking after 8 a.m. You can see the 3 parking areas in the upper right. I would try first at the Curry Village and then work my way back left to find a spot for the morning. Here's the map for the shuttle system, and you can see that there are actually 2 shuttles, Valley-wide and the East Valley. Both routes are one way, and try to familiarize yourself with how the shuttle operates. Many times it can be faster to actually walk to your next stop, particularly if that means cutting across the valley. Also note that Yosemite Village is kind of a hub between the 2 shuttles. Even better than the shuttle, and the best hack for getting around the valley, is actually riding a bike. You can certainly bring your own bike. There are also bike rentals, and there is a bike share service, although that's only for 50 bikes. That's a great way to see all the best sights in the valley during the morning time if you're trying to see everything in one day. As I was moving to my next stop from the falls, I came across some deer and also a mother bear and her cub, which was a really neat thing to see. Now let's zoom out and watch what a very inconsiderate park visitor pulled while I was trying to film the bear. Yep, Mr. Blue Hat decided he was just going to come and stand right in front of me. Do y'all think he did that on purpose? Leaving Yosemite Falls, let's check out some of the other highlights in the valley that you're going to want to see during your trip. Here is Cook's Meadow, where you get an amazing view of both the North Dome and Half Dome. Then you can make your way over to Sentinel Bridge, where Half Dome reflects perfectly in the Merced River. Heading west, you will find the fully operating Yosemite Chapel, where you can attend Sunday service if you like. Here's the Swinging Bridge picnic area. Now we'll continue west to get an up-close look at El Capitan, which rises 3,000 feet from the valley floor. You only need a permit to climb El Cap if you stay overnight during the climb, but if free soloing a 3,000 foot sheer granite cliff isn't your thing, you can walk out to the El Capitan Meadow, provided you have some sort of scope or a telephoto lens. You can spot climbers who are attempting to summit the giant granite face of El Capitan. Watching these climbers is a really fascinating thing to see. And we'll also take in some closer views of the face of El Capitan. Now, throughout my travels, I actually learned that El Capitan isn't the only El Capitan in the United States. We'll see another one on this channel. If you're enjoying this video, I'd really appreciate it if you would please give me a like. And if you'd like to see more videos, including the other El Capitan in the United States, please consider subscribing. Thanks so much, and let's continue with the video. Getting back to the history of Yosemite, the creation of the park actually dates back to the Yosemite Grant, which was signed under President Lincoln all the way back in 1864. The grant was the first time the federal government set aside land for preservation and for public use, and that laid the legal framework for the establishment of national parks. So some people may say that Yosemite actually predates Yellowstone. Now that we've spent our morning in the Yosemite Valley, you're probably going to want to head back to Yosemite Village to get lunch if you haven't packed your lunch. I always ate in the van, so I decided to film some deer and another bear. After lunch, depending on the time of year, as long as you're on schedule, I think you have two options for an early afternoon hike, which would either be the Mirror Lake hike or the Vernal Falls Footbridge. If it's earlier in the year, around springtime, early summer, I would suggest you do Mirror Lake, which offers another vantage point where you can see Half Dome reflecting in water. However, later in the year, Mirror Lake can actually dry up, so in that situation, I would recommend that you hike to the Vernal Falls Footbridge. While this hike is paved, it can be somewhat strenuous. Walking in the shadows of these towering granite cliffs here is a really amazing, awe-inspiring experience, and the cliffs also provide you quite a bit of shade, so while this is a strenuous hike, you should be fairly cool during it. Reaching the footbridge, you can see Vernal Falls in the distance, and behind the falls is Liberty Cap, I believe. At this point, you'll need to turn back if you're going to make sunset, but here I'll show you farther down the hike you can get a much closer view of Vernal Falls, and the hike eventually comes to Nevada Falls, but that will be left for another video. So now it's time to reverse course and make it back to where you hopefully parked at the Curry Village. Hey, we have another squirrel buddy. I would say at this point you need to have about 3 hours until sunset, so you need about an hour to hike back, and then you'll need an hour to drive up Glacier Point Road to make it to Glacier Point, where with Half Dome you will share one of the most amazing sights you will ever see in your life. If you're running short on time, you could stop at Valley View and also see an amazing sight of El Capitan as well. While this one-day itinerary is ambitious, it is manageable as long as you use a bike or the shuttle and get started right away in the morning so you can get a good parking spot. So that's going to bring me to my recommendation and top tips. Yosemite is not just a great national park, it's one of the most wonderfully amazing places in the entire world. I have it ranked 4th on my list of top parks, but in terms of natural beauty, I would put it just behind Yellowstone. It's just the crowds here do affect the experience somewhat, and the boondocking here is a little less accessible than in some of the other national parks. However, it can be done, and I did camp for free during my visit. For top tips, because of the crowds with Yosemite, these were the second worst crowds I saw at any national park, so I suggest that you only visit this park if you can during a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Don't come during the weekend. Don't come during any holidays. I would avoid that if at all possible. The best time of year to visit Yosemite is going to be in late May or early June, when the roads to Tioga Pass and Glacier Point are usually open and the flow rate of the waterfalls should still be quite strong then. For sunrise, we saw sunrise at Tunnel View, but that's actually more of a sunset location in my opinion. For a better location for sunrise, I would actually recommend Sentinel Dome. And then for sunset, I don't think you could really go wrong between Sentinel Dome, Glacier Point, or Tunnel View, but the park is just such an amazing location that pretty much any area in the park is amazing at any time of day. You want to try to gas up as much as you can before you enter the park. For a lot of the different areas of the park, it actually takes you a lot longer to drive to them than you would think. While you can see Glacier Point from the valley floor, it takes over an hour just to get there, and it takes about an hour and a half to get Wawona in the south of the park. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of gas depending on how much you may need to drive around. In this video, I gave you a one-day itinerary, and I think you could do all that and have an unforgettable experience to last you a lifetime. Yosemite is a park that if you want to fully experience it, you're going to need to spend more time here than just one day. I would suggest probably a week. Make sure you visit the other areas of the park, especially the east side of the park with Tioga Pass, which we will see in a later video, but that's just a really incredible drive. With the crowds, you're going to need to be patient after 10 a.m. and you will see some fairly bad tourist behavior. There was a guy actually flying a drone at Glacier Point during sunset, which was extremely annoying. Also, people tend to not wait their turn at some of the shuttle stops when they're coming back from some of the longer hikes, so you need to be ready to hold for your spot to get on the shuttle when the shuttle comes. Yosemite is the best national park for hiking in my opinion, so if you want to get out on a hike and get close to nature, this is the park for you. It's really an amazing experience, and you definitely want to visit this park at some point in your lifetime without question. That's going to do it for Yosemite National Park. I hope this video helps you out on any future travels you may have. I want to thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks and take care. Bye.